Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. Today's special guest that we have with us, and it's always an honor to have him with us, either in person or online. We have Dr. Darrin Starkey. He's a naturopathic doctor, Vice President of Education and Training for Trace Minerals, speaking on a wonderful topic today of electrolytes and minerals, their role in hydrating and recovery in the body. Thank you so much for being here with us, Dr. Starkey.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is a wonderful topic that I think is overdue.
Indeed. And like what we were talking about before, getting hydration all year round and those essential trace minerals are so impactful on all of our cells in the body. So I know you have lots of expertise to share with us.
Well, what I would love to do is I'd love to share my screen really quick. And I just want to go over, I'm going to come at it from a little bit of a different aspect today. And that is that I want to be able to, I'm going to take kind of a devil's advocate approach to hydration. And so one thing that I love to do first is when we start talking about hydration, I think that oftentimes when we talk about water, I think we lose a lot of our consumers' interest because there are so many options out there that just taste wonderful. Or I literally hear this every day. I don't like the taste of water, therefore I don't drink water. So we have to find ways to make water fun. Well, one of the things that I love to point out really quick is that if we think about the importance of water, 71% of our Earth's surface is covered in water. So I think it's pretty important that we understand that when it comes to our body, I find this interesting, that our body's makeup is almost comparable. 60 to 70% of our body's makeup is water. So when we start talking about, the critical element of water, I think it's the number one supplement that we should be focused on every single day. But here's the interesting facts that I like to do is when we start talking about our makeup, blood, if you think about it, 90% of our blood is water. 8 to 10%, and again, sometimes we talk about our teeth, which are living organs, and they're so hard, but yes, 8 to 10% of them are water. And of course, our bone is 20 to 25% water. Now, when it comes to our brains, 80 to 85% of it, our brain and kidneys are water. Our heart, 75 to 80% of our heart and lung tissue is water. So I think that ultimately, when we start looking at the overall perspective, liver, skin, every aspect of our existence deals with water. But here's where it gets interesting. It should be interesting to all of us, is that water, what purpose does water have? Yes, we talk about hydration, but lubrication, especially as we get older, to our joints, protecting our tissues, protecting our spinal cords, removing waste, of course, from the body through urination and of course defecation, and then the conductivity and its functioning roles with water. And we'll go into that just in a minute. But it aids digestion, which of course I think that if you think about digestion right now, and heaven knows that we need it, because 85% of our immune system starts with our digestion. And a lot of that has to do with that process of water and our cardio health. Now, it's estimated, and this is a scary number, it should be scary to all of us, that it's estimated that 75% of our society is chronically dehydrated. 75% of us are chronically dehydrated. Now, what does that look like? Well, one of the things that I love to tease with we don't have, when we start talking about minerals and electrolytes, for whatever reason, we start thinking about athletes. If I'm not an athlete, I do I really need to take my electrolytes? But I want to share just a couple of thoughts on this, is the fact that 2.5 to 3 cups of body fluid a day is lost through respiration, perspiration, urination, defecation, and of course in women during that time of their lives in menstruating. Now, I tease and state, when's the last time any of us have stopped any of those processes since the day we left our mother's womb? And I think we understand that none of these should stop, right? So if our output of that is, of course, greater than our input of our water and our hydrating factors, this is where I think that we run ourselves into some problems. Now, when we start talking about drinking enough water, I love putting it in ways that we can understand it from a daily standpoint, how incredibly critical it is that we're putting half our body weight in ounces of water daily. That's the one I like to think about when it comes to individualized water intake, is half your body weight in ounces of water daily at a minimum. Now, I have to ask some questions here. Were we ever designed to live on bottled, filtered, distilled RO water? And I think we all know the answer to that, right? Ultimately, we were designed to drink groundwater, creek water, spring water, and river water. But I also understand that if we ask the question to a large population, when's the last time you dipped a cup in any of those sources? I think we'll see some interesting cringing faces because we don't trust our environment. So at this point, we are afraid to drink anything other than bottled or filtered or RO water. So not only are they contaminant free, but I want you to know that they're element free too. So when we start talking about taking care of our bodies and hydrating properly, I think that ultimately we have to do our part in putting these minerals back in, because water's just not enough. I mean, again, when we start talking about the types of water, oftentimes I'm asked that question: what type of water do I drink? What do I prefer? What do I, where do I turn? What do I believe? Who do I believe? How do I believe? Well, ultimately, I love taking control. I love RO water. I think it's probably one of the cleanest waters available. Yet at the same time, for those that can't afford it, if we have a single, parented family that, water's not an option as far as purchasing, then we could do some things, of course, taking that tap water, distilling that tap water, bringing it to a boil 2 to 3 times, letting it set and cool, and then repeating that process, and then putting that into a glass bottle. I prefer glass, and then putting your minerals into that water. You then have a wonderful, perfectly balanced water that you can control on a daily basis. Now, we talk about hydrating foods during this time of the year. I think that, again, this is so important. When it comes to hydrating foods, I know that we gravitate to watermelon and bananas and of course, cucumbers, all the different types of wonderful, apples. But here's the question that I typically ask when it comes to that is, yes, they are packed full of water, but ultimately it comes down to the fact that we're only as healthy as our soil is fertile. So even though we're going to continue to eat those, hydrating fruits and vegetables, I think it's important that we still understand that we have to put those minerals back in. Here's a statement made in 1912. And for those of you that are joining us, I hope you can see this, but soil is the basis of all human life and our only hope for a healthy world. All of life will either be healthy or unhealthy according to the fertility of the soil. Minerals in the soil control the metabolism of cells and plants, animals, and man. And I love this part right here. Diseases are created chiefly by destroying the harmony reigning among mineral substances present in the infinitesimal amounts in air, water, and food, but most importantly, the soil. That was back in 1912. Now, I have to ask the question, if that information is true, can you imagine where we're at today? With the industrialization, I mean, we basically, everything we deal with today, we're focused on, of course, cleaning up our environment, but I think that ultimately going back to soil balance is the key. Now, this is where I love to take this to, and I know that we all understand this, but in 1936, I love this guy because he was a gastroenterologist. Back in 1936, this particular doctor stated that 99% of the American population were deficient in these trace minerals due to agricultural farming technique. He went on to state that no matter how delicate that deficiency was, it would sicken, suffer, and shorten our lives. Now, again, I ask the question, if this information is true, and that was back in 1936 that we're finding these deficiencies at that level, where are we today? And I don't think it takes us long to look at some of these nonprofit organizations that are screaming at the top of their lungs as far as the health challenges that we're facing at all ages, young and old. And I think that we could probably take both these statements and put them together and understand where, one part of our health is determined, and that comes from our balance of our trace minerals. Now, remember this, we call this deficiency. If we don't resolve this deficiency, this becomes dysfunction or dis-ease to our health. And what I love to do is I love to, of course, bring out that aspect of these minerals and how they play an essential role in our overall health of our cells. Now, I think that ultimately anybody that's ever suffered from a muscle cramp, a twitch, a spasm, and of course, night cramps right now. I think that, again, it used to be an aging issue, but now we're starting to see even our youngest consumers suffering from night cramps. I don't think for a second that it can't be resolved, but we have to do something about it. So when it comes to these minerals, I know that oftentimes we categorize electrolytes in macro electrolytes and micro electrolytes, or macro minerals and micro minerals. What I'd like to do right now is just focus really quickly on the micro minerals, which of course, when we look at the periodic table, we are looking specifically at all these little trace minerals that are literally in parts per million. So in other words, anything that is needed in, less than 100 milligrams is typically considered a trace mineral. And anything over that is considered a macro mineral. Anything over 100 milligrams on a daily basis is considered a macro mineral. So when it comes to trace minerals, I think it's fascinating in our society that we live in a society that more is always better. We go about that basis of more is always better. But when it comes to your trace minerals, less is best. I mean, that's the way they work in our body. So when it comes to these macro minerals or these electrolytes, I want to define what an electrolyte is really quick. An electrolyte are, defined as substances that dissociate into ions when fused or in solution. What does that mean? What I'd like to do is I'd like to take it a little step further in the fact that I'm going to show a little visual of the trace minerals. Now, let me back up here. So the 8 major electrolytes that are considered macro minerals: magnesium, sodium, chloride, calcium, potassium, phosphate, sulfate, and bicarbonate. These are your macro minerals. These are those elements that we need in, hundreds of milligrams per day. And I think that as a society, especially when we look at some of these elements, we know the percentages of some of the deficiencies in our society because of what we're being being told, such as magnesium. When it's stated that 80% of our society is magnesium deficient, that's a pretty good indicator as to how, our electrolyte, issues are within our society. Now, let's think about this from a, I'm going to come back to that, but I'm going to go ahead. If you haven't ever experienced our demonstration, I want to just really quickly, that concept of seeing is believing. I want to take us back to food. And I've specifically focused on some of the hydrating foods that we were talking about. If you can see right here, I have a banana, I have an apple, I have a part of a cucumber, and a little slice of watermelon. Now, if I take the definition of death, the very definition of death is not when your heart stops beating, but when all the electrical impulse in our brain ceases. So when when that electrical, so we're nothing but a very sophisticated machine ran off electrical impulse. That's what we are. If we break it right down to the basic, how we function, it comes down to conductivity, electrical conductivity. So let me just show you this. So I'm going to put a positive negative charge into a cucumber, and I get an electrical response. Did you see it? So I took that positive and negative charge and I put it into a cucumber, and I get an electrical response. How about now? My heart is always, this time of the year when watermelon is on the top of my grocery list, you can see that I still get that electrical response. Now, let's go back to this. If we take our heartbeat, there's our heartbeat, right? If we take these foods out of our diets, oftentimes we'll see that very response. There's a banana. And how about the apple a day that kept the doctor away? Can you see it? We see a slight variation. And do you see the inconsistencies, by the way, through each one of those? So what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to show you and introduce you to the Concentrate Trace Mineral Drops. This is our flagship product. This is what's kept us in business for 50 years. And what I love to do is I love to share the thought that when I put this into my supplementation, now, mind you, I want you to understand something. This does not take the place of your vitamins, macrominerals, your enzymes, amino acids. This is just a piece of that foundational puzzle that should have been in our soil and our water all along. But let me share this thought. So here's filtered water, by the way. Can you see that? In fact, I'll do it here because all these are just filled. That's filtered water. Any conductivity there? It's absolutely dead. It's dead water. Yet at the same time, what I want to do is I want to put just one drop of the concentrates into that, and I get an electrical response. Now watch what happens. There's one drop. That's one single drop. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5 drops. And I cheated because there's a 6th. You see the light as it continued to get brighter and brighter. Now remember, this conductivity is from those ionic trace minerals that we should be getting from our soil. And yet at the same time, what's concerning to me and that I like to bring to our attention is that if you, now again, when we start talking foods, although they look and appear, sometimes we don't reference as to where the origin of their growth come, where are they coming to us from? For instance, I was just in Florida. I picked up a yellow organic pepper. Can you guess where that yellow organic pepper was grown? We want to say Florida, California, how about Israel? I picked up a kiwi from Italy. I picked up a banana from Ecuador. You understand what I'm doing here. I can take you around the world with foods that are available on our store shelf. So the question I have is, are we asking the right question? Now, yes, I know that oftentimes, we don't have a lot of options during certain times of the year, but What I want you to know is that I believe that we can put that electrical, that balance of these trace minerals back into our diets every single day from a supplement standpoint that will help add. So they'll activate, regulate, and assimilate those other nutrients that we're putting into our bodies on a daily basis. That's what the trace minerals, those are those little micro electrolytes and how they function within the body. Now, at the same time, at Marlene's, one of the things, now let me back up really quick. So when we start drinking half our body weight in ounces of water daily, we have to make sure that we're putting those trace minerals back into that water, make that water usable. It used to be coined making water wetter. Well, I think that ultimately we can, of course, the water is just a transport. It's a transportation system. So as we put the water in, we have to put the passengers in with it. And by doing so, that helps us and balance, of course, our overall balance and well-being. Yet think about what we do to ourselves. Oftentimes when it's cold outside, we stop hydrating. We stop drinking because we're cold. Remember, we perspire, we respirate, we urinate, we defecate on a daily basis. These should never stop. We should never stop that balancing process on a daily basis. Don't wait until you're thirsty. That's a key piece. I love to I remind these young individuals to, they carry, every one of them has a phone. So I love to recommend putting, a reminder on those their phones to drink their water. I think it's key that we give ourselves reminders. So don't wait until you're thirsty. Make sure you're putting that proper hydration in. The thing that makes me nervous, during the winter time, dehydration mimics the flu. So we think we're sick, and yet at the same time, if we're not drinking, that proper balance, and again, I don't want to point the finger at anyone. I think that all ages are suffering right now. As I mentioned earlier, 75% of us in our society today are chronically dehydrated. Don't wait till you're thirsty. Choosing water over other beverage options. I mean, I personally, I think we could do more in putting those electrolytes back into our water and into our, our favorite smoothies or protein shakes or, juices. If you like to squeeze your own juice, I think that there's some amazing ways that we can put those electrolytes back in and make it enjoyable for all of us. So choosing, water over other beverage option or even sports drinks, I think is key. Carrying a bottle of water around with us on a daily basis, I think that is so important to remind ourselves to drink that water. I've heard it stated that if we were to drink just a half an ounce of water every 30 minutes, I know it doesn't sound like much, but I think that we could go a long ways in supporting ourselves and getting ourselves back to that hydrated state. Making water fun. I'm going to go into a couple of products that we have that I think we can make water fun, but typically if you want to, I hear everybody state, I don't like the taste of water. Let's make it enjoyable. Let's put some, fruits. I know that one of my, and I attend these different socials and I find some fascinating fruits and vegetables in these water dishes. Putting cucumber into a cup of water is amazing. I would have never thought, and the first time it happened to me, I thought that they had, that had fallen off the plate and landed into my water and they still wanted me to drink it, but it's quite refreshing and it makes water taste amazing. So there's some key things that we can do to make water fun. Of course, ultimately, I've already addressed adding minerals to our water each day. I know that I've been hearing more and more about adding salt, different types of salt. So let me answer a couple of these questions by addressing the fact that, yes, we do have we do have a clinical study on the concentrates. We love to let our consumers know that it's available in different options, by the way. I just pointed out a couple of them, whether it be in a tablet form, a capsule form, or even for our younger generation that are requesting gummies. I never thought in a million years, I've been in the industry for 33, that we would be talking about gummies as a delivery system, but we do. I can say though, that the number one complaint I've ever, that I've addressed a billion times in my career, it feels like, and that's an overstatement, but it feels like it, is the taste of the concentrates. The taste of there is no additives, no preservatives, no sweeteners there. I mean, this is a concentrated source of minerals. So what we want to do here, by the way, is to dilute it to our own taste preference. Each one of us will have a different taste preference. What one might enjoy at 10 drops in a glass of water, one might only enjoy 5 drops into a glass of water. So make sure that you utilize those products effectively for us individually. So we recommend 20 to 40 drops a day of this product. Now that's taken throughout the day, yet most people put it all in one little cup and of course complain about the taste. Remember, we perspire all day, we of course respirate all day, we urinate multiple times, and we should be defecating 2 to 3 times a day. So in other words, we want to space this out throughout the entire day so that we can balance ourselves on a daily basis. Now, with that being said, we have a couple of options here that we love to turn individuals to when it comes to the different electrolyte supports that Marlene's offers. We have the hydration IVs that if you are a high endurance athlete, of course, a lot of our marathoners or our runners or our, those individuals that press themselves extremely hard in the gym, these hydration IVs are essential in the fact that they have higher carbohydrates to help our bodies power up and move through those workouts and recovery. Yet at the same time, for those individuals, now, yes, it does have some vitamins, it does have your macro minerals, and it does in fact have your trace minerals in it. So that's kind of our key to the trace minerals brand. If you see that logo on a bottle, that means that there's trace minerals that have been added. That's our niche. That's our company. That's what we do. We put that foundation into all of these electrolyte supports. Now, whether that be stress related, children, we have 180 SKUs of product, but this is the key. I want to share this thought with you. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of the hydration IV into just filtered water. And I want to share with you that you can be rest assured that you have those electrolytes going into every product that we offer. Those trace minerals are a part of that to help activate, regulate, and keep that body functioning properly. Now, we just introduced a new product that will be coming out to Marlene's that we're extremely excited about. And this is called Zerolyte. Now, the two are completely different in the fact that Zerolyte has no sugar. It's sweetened with stevia leaf. And some might say, I do not like stevia. I don't like they've done an amazing job, by the way. I hope you at least reach for a sample when they're available and try them out. But I love the salty watermelon. I'm a watermelon guy. I drink watermelon year round, whether it's available or not. Even in the middle of this winter, it could be in this area that I live, it might be 20 below zero. And guess what I'm reaching for? I'm reaching for my watermelon packs. I'm reaching for my Zerolyte because you know what? If I can't have the warmth of my spring or summer, I'm at least going to enjoy the taste of watermelon in my electrolytes. Now, we do offer it in a salty citrus and a salty orange. And here's how this works. Now, for those individuals that are living the keto diet or they're taking all the carbs and all, remember, oftentimes when you're living that diet, you get very little sodium. Your body is designed to take in sodium. And because we don't take in that proper balance of sodium, I think that oftentimes we can run ourselves into the ground, even though we're feeling, we feel like $1,000,000 because we're trying to live as healthy as we can, but we're not supplying that proper electrolyte of sodium. So with the sodium and potassium found in this one, again, it comes right down to that main emphasis of the macro electrolytes. So when we start putting that balance back in, I hope, and remember this, you don't have to be an athlete to benefit from these products. I hope you hear that loud and clear. I don't care if you're of course, we work with some amazing athletes, and they're interesting people to work with. They're very intense. And I don't care if you're a professional couch potato. Regardless of where you fall on that scale, you can benefit from these electrolytes every single day. Now, again, dosing, 1 pack from a high endurance athlete will be sufficient. But remember, that's what I love about these powders so much, is we can make it, I hope that you identify with the one in the mirror first. Look at, your needs better than anybody. So if you're suffering from a night, full-blown night cramps, that's a pretty good indicator that your body is looking for something. And I think that you have the ability to be able to put this balance in, not just at, activity times throughout your day, but throughout the entire day. Let me explain that really quick. I hope I didn't confuse you. So I love putting those trace minerals in every bottle of water that I drink throughout the day. But if I'm going to be active, whether I'm going to the golf course or whether I'm going to the gym, whether I'm going on a hike, whether I'm going on a bike ride or swimming, whatever that activity is, I'm going to be able to benefit, not only am I going to put it in my water, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I'm going to add those major electrolytes, during, pre, and post. Now, here's what I find interesting about a lot of our individuals that take electrolytes. They look at pre and post workout, but what about in between? What about during the workout? That's when our bodies need that benefit the very most. So what I love to do is that we have a product, and if called 40,000 volts. Now, this is a liquid electrolyte, okay? So the difference being is that this has an added emphasis on the sodium, potassium, calcium, as compared to the concentrates, which is just the trace minerals. So you can put this into your water without any sweeteners, without any carbs, and you can turn anything and everything into an electrolyte replacement fluid. So that way, I find this product interesting because if you put this in, I recommend 1 drop per ounce of fluid, and you can work that up depending on how intense your workout's going to be. You can get up to 3 drops per ounce of fluid. But if you start to sip it before start to drink it before you start to perspire and sweat, you're gonna taste it. But the minute you start to sweat, this is going to lose its taste completely, and it's going to taste like spring water to you. So that way you can support yourself throughout your entire day, regardless of how active you are. Now, we do have a product that I wanted to bring to light here today, because oftentimes we talk a lot about our athletes, right? We talk about all ages of our athletes, but what about our aging population that are suffering from those night cramps? So we just come out and spelled it out for you. This is our no muscle cramps. And this is one of our most popular amongst our aging population. It's to be taken at bedtime. It is an amazing product to help support those individuals. Now, remember, you don't have to be aging to enjoy this. I mean, if you have a young athlete that seems to suffer from night cramps or any type of muscle cramps, there's another option for you that I find it interesting sometimes dealing with some of our customer bases, that if we don't spell it out for them, on the 40,000 volts or the Endure or the Zero Lights or the Power Packs, it has an athlete, a biker, a hiker, a swimmer, and they look at it and go, well, I'm not any of those, so that's not going to benefit me. Well, guess what? When it comes to no muscle cramps, I don't care how old they are or how young they are, they can benefit from these products, and that helps to motivate them to take their electrolytes on a daily basis. Now, I don't know if you've ever dealt with a night cramp. They can be extremely painful and last for days after. For those of you that are susceptible, please, 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 again, if you keep doing what you've always done, what do you expect the changes to be? One thing that I love to do with this is, of course, and I should say I love to invite, because of what the company at Trace Minerals offers. Trace Minerals offers on every bottle of a full money back guarantee. Fill the difference or your money back guaranteed. No questions asked. Now, I know that Marlene's has some amazing, guarantees as well, because it wouldn't be on their shelves if they didn't believe in it. But what I believe is that why should we as a company, why should we take your money if you don't get results? But if you are willing to put our money where our mouth is and try it for yourself for 30 days, what do you have to lose? You won't lose your money, because we're here to back it up along with Marlene's. We work in tandem together. We're in partnership together. But we want you to know that we have confidence that the products that we have available to you, you'll experience a change. And when you experience that change, I hope you go back to the staff at Marlene's and share those experiences with them. Share those little triumphs, because every one of us love to talk about those changes within our own, whether it be ourselves personally or whether it be our family members, because I don't know about you, but typically the hardest ones to influence are our own personal loved ones. The ones that love us the very most are usually our harshest critics, right? But if we can make a change in that critic because of one simple product that made a difference for them, guess what? It'll change your life as well, because now they become a believer of what what you're passionate about. And yet at the same time, one of the products that I love to talk about is the power packs. These are little guys that come in a wonderful little tiny packet that can fit in your your pocket, your purse, your backpack, your fanny pack, I don't care what it is that you carry with you. This is an amazing little product that gives you the opportunity to put those electrolytes back in when you need them most. We have 16 different flavors. So we hope that one of those flavors meets your taste preference, or your family or friends that you're trying to educate the importance of these hydrating packs with. So I picked orange today because that's our number one seller. And what I'd like to do is just show you really quick that same little demonstration. I'm going to show you again. Here's just filtered water. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put just a little bit of this packet into that. And watch what happens. I'm going to go ahead and just put just a little bit of that. And these are effervescent, so they will fizz. Some individuals don't like the fizz. So if that bubbly sensation, if you just let it sit for a few minutes, that will dissipate. But at the same time, I find it fascinating as to how our children, I think you've done it right when your children start to ask for their power packs, or that they have a flavor, that they enjoy, or they encourage you to continue to buy. When our children start requesting or asking for them. Now, there's only 1 gram of sugar in these, okay? But when you look at the profile of the vitamins, and of course the macro electrolytes, this is one of those products that is a win-win for both parents and the children. And of course, because it's in a packet format or a powdered format, Parents always ask the question, how old does my child, how old can that child be? I love to quarter these, and give them to a younger individual and start them slow and then slowly work them up. Now, I also love our caregivers because they teach me so many wonderful things. So we have nurturers out there that will put this into ice cube trays, mix it up, put them into ice cube trays, put them in the freezer, and guess what you have there? A wonderful little treat that all of our, both our older and younger family members enjoy. And as you put them into water, it of course flavors the water to whatever flavor you choose, but will make it fun. And of course, again, I don't recommend chewing on ice, but at the same time, they're fun to enjoy right down to the last sip. So there's some fun ways that you can use some of these electrolyte products to make it enjoyable throughout the entire season, especially when it starts getting hot, that we oftentimes have to be educated on from our wonderful nurturers out there that give us that option to properly hydrate. I know we have one question. We have one question, Elizabeth.
It was me putting your article in the chat box, and I also placed it on the live stream, also on Facebook. I wanted to share your lovely article, but as an addition.
Thank you for that. I know that oftentimes when we start talking about some of the diets that are available or that a lot of these individuals are living, one of those things that we've done as a company is that we've made these power packs also sugar free so that they can meet the keto diet. So whether you like them regular or in a keto, most of our products that we have available to you, you can find in a keto friendly or a dietary friendly delivery system. So I think that Trace Minerals has done a wonderful job in that, giving us options that we can choose from that will make it enjoyable, and more importantly, giving us the opportunity to keep ourselves properly hydrated.
And everyone wants to stay hydrated because, like you were saying, golly, I think it was like 90% of water is within our blood, and then the brain was 80
to 85%, correct?
Yeah, that is. And this presentation further explained, like, I didn't know like the differences, why they were called trace minerals,
right?
Because they were under the 100 milligrams
or less,
and so yeah, or less, which is so cool. And how each one of those plays a huge role in our body, even though we take them a small amount, they still play a big role.
Absolutely. I think that, when we talk about macro minerals, I think we all understand the importance of magnesium, right? The richest source of magnesium is found in the heart tissue as far as a concentrated, source. And yet, when we look at our number one killer in America right now, I think we have to identify the need for that macro electrolyte to be placed into our everyday supplemental, hydrating diets, right? Yet I have to ask a question. We talk about some of our favorite elements, right? I know I've been doing this way too long when I start telling you what my favorite elements are, but what you just mentioned right there is so important to understand, is that science, of course, we still need time to figure out what all these trace minerals do within the human body. But we all love gold, right? If you offer somebody gold, the more the better. And yet, do you know where the richest source of gold in the human body is found? We don't think about this much, but we've heard the term our whole lives, and it probably comes from our favorite aunt or grandmother, and that is, you have a heart of gold. And it is absolutely true. The richest source of gold, that is a trace mineral, it is a micro trace mineral. The richest source is found in the heart tissue. So it probably works like an alkaloid, but at the same time, there's where oftentimes we start understanding more as we look at some of these terms that we've always heard throughout our lives. But just like you said, just because they're in trace amounts doesn't mean they're not important. I think that some of the most important elements that we have in our bodies right now are in trace amounts, not macro amounts, but in trace amounts that are absolutely needed for our overall well-being.
And I just love y'all's products so much. I actually have a couple of the power packs myself. I
You
love
have a favorite flavor?
ooh, yeah, that one's hard. We just did a Facebook Live uh kind of tasting spotlight, and I got to try a couple different flavors I hadn't tried yet.
Oh, good.
And yeah, they were really good. I think one of them was the watermelon in the power
Right.
packs.
One of my favorites.
Oh, yes, that's right. Watermelon flavor. And
The
then,
guava, the
oh,
guava.
the guava.
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't
one
tried the guava. I'll have to try that next time.
for sure.
Oh, the peanut, I actually want to always call it
The
pina
pineapple
colada,
cone. Yeah,
but
the
it,
pineapple
yeah,
cone.
but exactly. And it was creamy.
Yeah. They've done some amazing jobs, and I want everyone to know that they're all natural. There's no artificial flavors. There's no, they're naturally flavors. And the question that we usually get with that is that, why is it that from batch to batch, the color of my orange or the color of my grape or the color of my is a different color? And that is 100% because it's natural. There's no artificial colorings in there. So even though you mix it up and it has that smell, and it might be just a little bit off on the coloration, that's completely natural. So we prefer it that way.
Exactly. We're not trying to um put our bodies full of these non-essential artificial flavors.
That's right. You know what I'm going to do really quick? And this is always a question that comes up, especially. I'm going to go ahead and put some of that filtered water into another cup. We get the question a lot of, if I'm taking a keto tablet or the electrolyte stamina tablet, are the tablets just as effective as the powders or the liquids? And I want to share that thought with you. So I'm going to take the electrolyte stamina tablet. Now we can put more into a tablet than we can into a powder or a liquid, right? So the profile on the electrolyte stamina tablet is so much different than that of the powder, but being that it has more of the macro electrolytes in it. Okay. But what I want to do really quick is I want to show you, I'm going to take that water again that is completely filtered. Let's make sure you can see this. That's completely filtered. And I'm going to drop a tablet, an electrolyte stamina tablet. And let's just give that about 30 seconds, shall we? So even though this is in cold filtered water, I didn't say distilled because it's not distilled, it's just cold, filtered water. And can you imagine what this would do if you were to swallow it and put it in your hydrochloric acid, right? So there's one tablet. So whether it be in a tablet form, a powdered form, or a liquid form, that's where those major electrolytes come to play when it comes to our bodies. Now, I tease once in a while and I say, we are we are divinely designed to be Lamborghinis, Bugattis, Ferraris, whatever type of car you love that are the high-end speed fat. That's how we're designed. But sometimes I think we treat ourselves like push mowers, right? We push ourselves all day long. We push ourselves, whether it be getting up to go to work or going to the gym or, school or all these different, we put ourselves in these environments that absolutely leach our electrolytes. I would say that one of the worst is, of course, our emotional stress that we put ourselves under. It just robs ourselves of these electrolytes, these micronutrients. But by putting that emphasis and putting that balance back into our body, again, it's like reinforcing that energy and putting it back onto our spark plug so that we can function the way that we're intended to function and feel the way that we are designed to feel. And when we start feeling well on something that we personally are involved with, we usually like to share it with others, right? So these are ways that, of course, ultimately, when it comes right down to it, we have some amazing opportunities to, take care of ourselves, but more importantly, we get to share it with others as well.
I'm fascinated by this, by the electrolyte shot.
Yeah. Yep. So, you see in the grocery stores everywhere throughout this country, right? And I'm not going to mention the product because you already know what it is. But this product right here is designed to be able to combat that type of a approach with one little single shot. You open it up, you suck it down. There's no sugar in it, but it's all electrolyte based so that we can put that energy back into us naturally without all the caffeines and all the other, So that right there is one of those products that, again, is kind of been a specialty item to combat those different types of energy shots, right? Now, in closing, who would have thought that we would talk about the electrolyte gummies, right? So I don't know about you. There's a good, better, and best scenario here. I love my liquids that have no sugars, I love my 40,000 volts in the concentrates. I love, but I have to be honest with you. These electrolyte gummies, when it comes to our young and our aging that don't like to take or mix or muss or fuss with things, but they're willing to take something. This is that concept, of course, that apple a day that kept the doctor away. It's not so much what the apple tastes like, it's what the apple offers. So if they're not willing to do anything, let's get them to do something. And this is where the electrolyte gummies come into play. And of course, again, what flavors that we're looking at again, right? We have the watermelon flavors, and of course we have the citrus. So there's some options for everybody and at all ages, so that you have the opportunity to take care of everyone in the family, regardless of where they're at or what they prefer. You have a product that's available to them that they can try and put the money, that guarantee to the test and find out if we can give them, a result that they can see, feel, and measure. And I'll leave that with you to think about.
And I think that's great, like what you're saying. Sometimes the our seniors and the younger age groups, they're kind of just like, oh, I hate the taste of vitamins, or just getting them to ingest anything. So, and of course, we got that watermelon flavor, which is great.
That's right. Now, I didn't personally choose that one. Of course, I enjoy when they do choose the watermelon, but they have really done a great job. That's kind of that sweet and salty, just like with the Lights, right? It's that sweet and salty type delivery that a lot of it's that 35 and younger that is promoting the gummies and pushing the gummies to their family and friends. So by all means, we, like I said, at Trace Minerals, we just want to give a product with a delivery system that will meet your need. And heaven, we all know that if you have 4 children, one out of those four is going to be completely different from all the other taste buds or all the other delivery systems. You're going to have to work at trying to get them to do something for themselves. And we just want to make it easier to be able to meet their needs. So again, whether we're dealing with our grandparents or our youngest child, and I shouldn't even say youngest, one of our children, I hope that this information will give them the opportunity to reach out, experiment with one of these products to help that individual and their family in need.
And what I like about these gummies too is the of course the zero light is phenomenal because it has 0 grams of sugar, but these are moderately low in the sugar department already. Like this only has 3 grams of sugar for 3 gummies. So that's like 1 gram of sugar per gummy.
So to mention that too, we, in the beginning, we would purchase our gummies elsewhere. We would, of course, contract them out. That wasn't working for us because we couldn't control what and how and what type of gummies that we wanted. So at Trace Minerals, we purchased a gummy company. And so therefore we can experiment and of course change. So these are, vegan approved in the fact that we're not dealing with any type of byproducts of animals. So when it comes to the sugar content, we're in control of that. We get to control and make sure that the end product works for us and our name, so that we can offer that again, a product that is going to work and meet the needs of those that are our customers.
Exactly. You're always making sure that the best high quality products are out there to ensure full optimal hydration.
Thank you for sharing that. I was tongue tied and you put it perfectly.
I was totally picking up what you were throwing down.
Well, thank you.
Yes, not a problem, Dr. Starkey.
Any
Fabulous
other?
presentation.
So in the end, I hope that, again, if it just starts with today's a fantastic day to start with our water. Remineralize the water, prepare ourselves, and then of course we can reach for those electrolyte supports. And again, please share that with Marlene's staff. Let them know what you're experiencing. Let us know what you're experiencing. We would love to hear the end results.
We're thirsty to know your response.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Starkey. Phenomenal job. I always learn so much from your presentations, and your expertise and your genuinity always comes through. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to see you in person the next time.
Yes, definitely. I'll be looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.